The boutique on Madison Avenue gleamed like a glass palace, crystal chandeliers, polished marble floors, and handbags that cost more than rent. It was the kind of place people entered only if they knew they belonged. Ava did. She stepped inside quietly, her natural curls tucked under a cashmere beret, wearing a tailored coat and ankle boots. Nothing flashy, but classic. She wasn't there to show off. She simply loved design. She had built her life on resilience. A PhD in business, founder of a thriving consultancy, and now finally considering purchasing a limited edition handbag from Bell & Monet, her favorite label. The store was almost empty. A tall blonde woman in designer sunglasses was browsing one of the displays near the entrance. As Ava approached a shimmering display of clutches, her presence was noticed. "Excuse me, can I help you?" the woman said, not a store associate, but the shopper. Her voice had a tight edge, like a warning wrapped in a smile. Ava turned politely. "Oh no, thank you. Just browsing." The woman stepped closer, lowering her glasses. "Right. It's just that this store isn't exactly a browsing place. Maybe check somewhere less premium." Ava blinked. "I'm sorry." "You heard me," the woman said coolly. "I know the manager here. This is a curated space." Ava stayed composed. "So am I." Before more could be said, a sales associate walked by, eyes flicking between them but said nothing. The blonde scoffed. "Security will escort you out soon anyway. Don't make it harder." Ava said nothing. Instead, she gently picked up the handbag she'd come to see. It was time to test more than leather. It was time to test people. Ava's fingers ran across the soft Italian leather, but she could feel the tension rise behind her. The blonde woman wasn't done. "I said, put that down," the woman snapped. "That piece is worth more than your car." Ava didn't flinch. "Do you always treat strangers this way?" The woman gave a short laugh. "Only the ones who don't belong. You're clearly out of place." Ava glanced at the sales associate still lingering nearby, watching nervously but refusing to intervene. The silence from the staff was louder than the insults. "I'll take this one," Ava said calmly, nodding toward the handbag. She stepped toward the register. "Like hell you will," the woman barked, stepping in front of her. "I've been a loyal client here for years. I won't let some imposter walk out with what she hasn't earned." Ava's lips tightened. "I didn't realize luxury was measured by skin color." The sales associate finally cleared her throat. "Ma'am," she said to the blonde. "Perhaps we could keep it respectful." "Don't ma'am me," the woman snapped. "This is why standards are slipping. Just wait until Mr. Lancaster hears about this. I'm texting him right now." Ava raised an eyebrow. "The regional director?" The woman blinked. "You know him?" Ava offered a small, knowing smile. "Better than you think." With her purse still in hand, Ava stepped aside and reached into her coat pocket, pulling out a card. She handed it to the stunned associate. The woman leaned in to look, and gasped. Her eyes darted between the card and Ava. "What's going on?" the blonde asked, suddenly wary. Ava didn't answer. Some truths are best revealed slowly. The card sat silently in the associate's trembling hand. Her eyes widened as she read the name. Ava Sinclair, co-founder and creative director, Bell & Monet. It was like someone had pulled the floor out from under her. Ava didn't gloat. She didn't need to. The silence said enough. The blonde woman blinked. "Wait, this is fake, right? There's no way you're her." Ava finally looked her in the eyes. "And what exactly does her look like?" the woman stammered. I just meant—" "You meant," Ava said smoothly, "that someone like me couldn't possibly build something like this. That someone like me doesn't belong here. Isn't that right?" No one answered. The sales associate stepped back, embarrassed. The blonde opened her mouth to speak but couldn't form the words. "I've walked into stores like this since I was 16, Ava continued. "Most of the time, I was followed, questioned, judged. So I decided to create a brand that looked past appearances." The blonde flushed crimson. "And yet here we are," Ava added. Again, suddenly, a man in a tailored charcoal suit entered through the boutique's glass doors. He looked around and made a beeline for Ava. "Ms. Sinclair," he said respectfully, "is everything all right?" The woman's jaw dropped. "You know her?" He looked at her, then nodded at Ava. "She owns the company." Ava folded her arms. "Thank you, Marcus. Could you please get the store manager?" "Right away." The woman backed away slightly. "Wait, this is all a misunderstanding." "No," Ava said, "it's a mirror. And I suggest you take a good look." It only took a minute before the boutique manager appeared, heels clicking fast on marble, eyes wide with concern. "Miss Sinclair," she greeted, a little breathless. "We weren't expecting you today." "I can see that," Ava replied coolly. The blonde woman's demeanor shifted again. She turned toward the manager quickly. "You didn't tell me she was someone important." The manager gave her a blank look. "I didn't know you needed to be told not to harass people." "I wasn't harassing," the woman tried. "She demanded I leave the store," Ava cut in. "Told me I wasn't worthy to touch the merchandise. And your staff just stood there." The sales associate's face turned pale. "Miss Sinclair, I didn't know. You didn't ask," Ava interrupted, her tone flat. "And that's the problem," the manager exhaled. "I take full responsibility. This is not what Bell and Monet stands for. I will personally handle it." Ava lifted a hand. "No more hush-hush apologies. This isn't about me feeling offended. This is about how we treat anyone who walks through those doors." Marcus returned at that moment, quietly standing to the side. "Security has been informed, awaiting instruction." The blonde woman laughed nervously. "You wouldn't have me removed, would you? I'm a loyal customer." "Are you?" Ava asked. "Or just someone who feels entitled to dominate spaces not meant just for you?" A pause. "I suggest you leave," Ava said finally. "Or what?" Ava looked to Marcus. "Escort her out, please." He didn't hesitate. The woman's complaints echoed down the marble corridor, but no one followed her. After the woman was escorted out, the store fell into an awkward hush. The staff straightened racks, adjusted displays, anything to avoid Ava's eyes. But Ava stood still, surveying the boutique she had once dreamed of creating. It looked perfect on the outside, polished, elite, but inside, something was clearly broken. The manager stepped closer. "Miss Sinclair, I'll begin retraining the staff immediately." "You'll do more than that," Ava replied. "I want a full report. I want to know if this kind of behavior has happened before. Not just here, but across every Bell and Monet location." The manager nodded slowly. "Of course." Ava walked to the display where she had been insulted. The handbag still sat there, elegant and untouched. She picked it up and turned to the sales associate, who had said nothing earlier. "What's your name?" she asked. "Clara," the young woman whispered. "You saw what happened. Why didn't you step in?" Clara looked ashamed. "I didn't know what to do. I was scared I'd get in trouble." "You were more afraid of a customer than you were of failing your values," Ava said quietly. Clara looked down. "I'm sorry. Don't be sorry." "Be better," Ava said. "We all have blind spots. What matters is what we do once they're exposed." The message was clear. Ava wasn't just angry. She was here to lead. Outside, paparazzi had already gathered. Words spread fast when power meets injustice. Ava looked at Marcus. "Let's make a statement." He nodded. Because this wasn't just about one store anymore. It was about the entire brand and the face behind it. By the end of the day, Ava's media team had issued a bold, unapologetic statement. Greater Than Bell and Monet was founded on the belief that luxury should be defined by excellence, not exclusion. What happened today at one of our flagship stores does not reflect our values. Effective immediately, we are reviewing our hiring, training, and in-store conduct protocols. Discrimination has no place in our brand or in society. The statement was picked up within minutes by blogs, fashion sites, and eventually major media networks. Photos of Ava, calm and commanding in front of the boutique, went viral. Hashtags like #SheOwnsIt, #BellyandBonet, and #LuxuryForAll trended across platforms. Back at corporate headquarters, Ava sat in a glass-walled conference room with her executive team. "This wasn't a PR disaster," she began. "This was a wake-up call, and we're answering it." Some executives looked nervous, others looked inspired. "We've built a brand people admire," Ava continued. "Now let's make sure they respect it for the right reasons. We'll start with a diversity audit. Then revamp customer service training in every store." A hand raised. "Won't that be expensive?" Ava smiled. "Not as expensive as staying silent." An executive who had remained quiet spoke up. "We've never had leadership that faced this kind of bias themselves. It changes how you lead." Ava nodded. "It should change how we all lead." She left the meeting with one goal: make Bell and Monet a place where no one, regardless of skin tone, is ever told they don't belong. It wasn't just about damage control, it was about transformation, and Ava wasn't backing down. The following morning, Ava's inbox overflowed with messages. But they weren't complaints. They were stories. Black women, Latinas, Asian women, even some white allies writing to thank her. Messages poured in from strangers recounting moments where they had been followed, questioned, or humiliated in high-end stores. One woman wrote, "Greater than I was kicked out of a boutique in Beverly Hills for asking about a necklace. They told me I couldn't afford it. Thank you for showing the world we belong." Another said, "Greater than I teach design. I show my students your photo now because you turned silence into power." Ava scrolled through dozens more. The volume of responses made something very clear. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was a pattern, and Ava had broken it wide open. At Bell & Monet's headquarters, customer traffic on their site surged, but so did something else: applications. Young designers and professionals from underrepresented backgrounds began applying in record numbers. Ava walked past the HR director's office and paused. "I want internship slots reopened," she said, "specifically for students from HBCUs and first-gen programs. We're building the next generation of this industry." The HR director nodded. On it. Later, Ava visited another Bell & Monet store, this time unannounced. The reaction was different. Staff stood taller, smiled with sincerity, welcomed her without knowing who she was. This was the change she wanted. This was the standard. As she exited the store, a teenage girl stared wide-eyed at her and whispered, "That's the woman from the story." Ava offered a warm smile and winked. She wasn't just a CEO anymore. She had become a symbol. The ripple effects were immediate and loud. Major fashion magazines featured Ava's story on their covers. Influencers praised her stand, comparing her to industry icons who used their power for progress. But not everyone applauded. A few rival CEOs accused her of playing the race card to boost sales. Others claimed it was a publicity stunt. Ava's response? Another interview, this time live on national television. Wearing a simple black dress, no jewelry, and natural curls, she sat across from a veteran anchor. "Why speak out now?" the anchor asked. "I didn't speak out. I acted." "There's a difference," Ava said calmly. "And if doing the right thing causes backlash, then so be it." "You're disrupting the luxury market," the anchor added. Ava smiled. Good. It needed to be disrupted. The next day, Bell & Monet's competitors began announcing their own inclusion reviews. They weren't as bold, not as public, but Ava knew one thing: she'd moved the needle. She didn't just challenge a moment of racism. She challenged an industry's comfort with silence. Meanwhile, a video of the original incident, captured on the boutique CCTV, was leaked. It showed Ava being insulted, demeaned, and dismissed, only to calmly reveal her identity. The internet exploded. Memes, reactions, and think pieces dominated timelines. Ava watched quietly, her phone buzzing non-stop. But it wasn't about going viral. It was about breaking cycles. She wasn't interested in attention. She was here to force evolution. Within a month, Bell & Monet had transformed. Every boutique now displayed a sleek black and gold placard near the entrance. It read, "Greater than luxury is earned by character, not assumed by status. Ava Sinclair." Each store underwent diversity and equity training. Staff were taught more than customer service. They were taught humanity. Ava stood in front of a class during a training session in Chicago. "Luxury doesn't mean elitism," she told the new hires. "It means excellence, and excellence must include empathy." The crowd, diverse, hopeful, and eager, nodded. An older manager raised a hand. "Ma'am, some long-time customers don't like the changes." Ava smiled. "Then they were never the customers we wanted." Meanwhile, sales quietly rose. But Ava didn't celebrate that. She celebrated seeing a disabled woman helped kindly into a boutique, a transgender teen getting style advice without judgment, an immigrant grandmother being offered tea while she browsed. That was victory. That was the future. Ava launched a new campaign titled "Belonging is Beautiful." The ads featured real people, not models, sharing real stories. For the first time in Bell & Monet's history, the public didn't just see luxury. They felt welcome in it. Ava sat in her office overlooking the skyline and whispered to herself, "This is what I built it for." Power wasn't in the handbags or the headlines. It was in the people. A year later, Bell & Monet was unrecognizable, in the best way. Ava stood backstage at a global fashion summit in Paris. The auditorium was full. Her name flashed on the screen in elegant script. But she wasn't thinking about applause. She was thinking about what came next. A young reporter caught her before she went on. "Miss Sinclair, what's your biggest takeaway from that day in the boutique?" Ava thought for a moment that sometimes being underestimated is your greatest advantage. The reporter smiled. "What advice would you give to young women of color?" Ava looked directly into the camera. Never shrink to fit the room. Build your own. Thunderous applause greeted her as she walked on stage. The world was watching. But Ava didn't walk for validation. She walked for every girl told she doesn't belong. In the front row sat young designers, mentees from Ava's program, bright-eyed, brilliant and bold. They weren't there just to listen, they were the future. Backstage, her assistant handed her a small box. Inside was the same handbag from that unforgettable day, now renamed the Ava. Ava laughed softly, touched by the gesture. Legacy isn't something you wear, it's something you leave behind. And Ava Sinclair's, it was already in motion. Because real power doesn't shout. It walks in, unbothered, and lets the world adjust.